The Robinson Saga, The House That Joe Built by Christine Edworthy. There is a house off Lower Springbank Road, a two-story frame construction built by the young man's hands, seemingly shrouded by the surrounding tall spruce trees and poplars. A yellow rose bush and brilliant purple coneflowers add color to the west side of the weathered structure. Historical pictures show many family gatherings in the secure haven of the welcoming veranda, now collapsed on the ground. Roof shingles disappear regularly in the wind, and other debris and pieces of the fence are scattered around. This is what remains of the pioneer family home of Joe Robinson of Springbank, Alberta. Over 130 years ago, Joe and his bride Lily McPherson, who married on February 5th, 1890, started their large family here. Lily came to Calgary on the first train to pull into this western town in October of 1883. She arrived with her mother, sisters, and younger brother to join her father and older brothers who had come out 7 months before. Meanwhile, Joe Robinson, born in Ontario in 1861 as the second-born son of 11 children of Irish immigrants, came to Alberta in 1881. He drove an ammunition wagon up from Montana during the Riel Rebellion and afterwards settled in the Elbow River District, building this house beside the spring. It was the Seven Springs that once served this section of land that attracted Joe to settle here, deeming it prosperous for mixed farming and livestock. The Robinsons had 11 children, all born in the home that Joe built. As the family grew, an addition on the north side provided a much-needed large kitchen and 2 new bedrooms. The second story had 2 bedrooms with 4 beds each, according to Blanche Robinson, who moved into the house in 1948 with husband Steve. What Blanche remembers most about living in the old home place is that the house served them well, but she didn't like the leaky roof. It was especially annoying when company was around. A new house was built in 1960 for Blanche and Steve, and while the old house was rented out for a time, it became unlivable and was retired. Joe and Lily's children were born over a period of 20 years, starting with Hugh in 1890, followed by Ernest, Jean, Maggie, Elsie, Belle, Martha, Gordon, Lily, Joseph Roy, James Edward, and Steve in 1911. They were never lonely, having each other as playmates and workmates on the farm throughout the seasons. Church was a large part of their lives. Every Sunday there were social events that surrounded the church community. Blanche well remembers Lily Robinson and says that she was a good provider and a good mother, always there for her family. Imagine, if you will, up to 14 people sitting down to eat a healthy supper at the Robinson kitchen table. Noisy and busy in its heyday, the kitchen was the hub of the household. Those were memorable times, according to one of the 14 who attended the table. Springbank resident Rex Young, who spent his formative years at his grandfather's house, remembers the many place settings at the supper table. Rex and his mother Jean resided there when Jean's husband, Captain Rex Young, served in World War I. He was killed in duty. This was a supportive family, concurs Blanche Robinson. Always laughter, stories, working together, counting on each other. Another tragedy befell the Robinson clan with the oldest son, Hugh, living only 32 years. Hugh returned home after serving in World War I and bought a farm in Springbank. He married Mabel Buchanan and had one son, George. Unfortunately, in 1922, while riding to bring the cows home, Hugh's horse tripped in a badger hole and Hugh fell off, breaking his neck. Seems such a tragedy after going all over Europe as a soldier, says Blanche. Strangely enough, 1922 was also the year the family's patriarch, Joe Robinson, died. Lily remained on the farm until a year before her death in 1941. Expensive toys and gifts were not the norm. The children made their own games and playhouses, had no bicycles, but rode stick ponies. There was plenty to eat on the table, most of it being raised on the farm: beef, pork smoked in the smokehouse, chickens, and vegetables and crops from the lush garden. The horse and buggy provided transportation for shopping. Joe loved purebred Clydesdale horses and raised them not only for business, as draft horses were in great demand before the era of mechanization, but also for show. He garnered respect as a breeder and won many ribbons on the show circuit. The large horse barn on the home place, and later the dairy barn, served their purpose for a number of years. The buildings were located to the northwest of the house. The barns were great places for children to explore and play games, recalls Blanche. Sadly, the barns were torn down at the end of the last century for safety reasons. The dairy business provided a good income, with 30 Holstein cows on the property. The milk was stored in milk cans, which were cooled in the very cold water of the year-round spring and under cover of the spring house building. The milk was collected daily for delivery to the Model Dairy in Calgary. In the ensuing years, when it was deemed unsanitary to provide milk cooled in this fashion, dairy farmers were forced to change equipment to bulk coolers. Steve and Blanche decided that it was too expensive to convert and opted out of the dairy business in the early 70s. The land was expensive to hold as well, and so the property was sold off in portions to developers. Blanche's children were each allocated a portion of the heritage property, and very recently Blanche sold the home place after 100 years of it being Robinson land. How this family lived and behaved in their community influenced themselves and others. Even after the final piece of wood has fallen from their beloved home, they will not be forgotten. The old place will always be known as the Robinson Place, beside a trickling spring on Robinson Road, a testimony to this strong-willed pioneering family.